It was still kind of cloudy, so not super bright, but very early. We were up and at 'em and ready to go for part 2. Now, it's also important to remember that this town is small, real small, to the point that there's only really one main road that services the entire town. And that means if 5:30 rolls around and somebody's decided they want to sell you a bang bao, you're gonna hear about it. But we weren't gonna let that get us off to a bad start to the day. Not with views like this and bang bao like that stank so good. And as we'd started the day so early, it was in the entire team's best interest that the intern who was in charge of driving the motorbike on these dangerous mountain roads was borderline dangerously caffeinated. But not any old cup of coffee was gonna do. We were on the hunt for a particular cafe, which is rumored to have even better views than in town here, but it is way, way out there. Right on the top, right at the end of that big old mountain ridge. So, let's go. Of course we got suckered in for a photo op at the outlook spot, but those kinda ominous clouds over on the left and those real ominous dark clouds over on the right made us think we have to hit the road. Because within just a couple of short minutes, they were more than just rolling in, to say the least. When you think cloud cover out here, think really covered in clouds. We basically had the same visibility as yesterday on our way up, which, while it's cool and admittedly kind of scary looking, it's not what we'd come here for. Although you'll still get some nice, albeit short, glimpses out over the valley. And this actually brings us to a little flashback point from part 1 that we released last week. Well, remember that we were talking that some people might want to do the trip on a bigger bike, and I said something like, and I quote, like that one. Oh, and remember that road for later. Well, it turns out that all laters are nows eventually, because it turns out that this is the road that we'll be following for today's excursion. If you look to our starboard side, you'll see white. If you now direct your attention to port side, you will also see white. These are clouds. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, why is this dumb dog showing me clouds? Does he think I've never seen a cloud before? And, well, maybe. I don't know you. This is the internet. You could be anyone watching this. And maybe you've never been so intimate with a cloud before. That's none of my business. That's between you and the clouds in your life. Anyway, the point of making a show of these views will make sense in a little bit. And even when the clouds do open up and allow you a nice view down into the valleys, don't let it distract you too long. The roads aren't perfect. Though, to be completely honest, this far out into the mountains and this far out into the provinces, I'm pretty impressed. Although now that the concrete has just given up, that can be quite sketchy on a city bike. But that should mean that we are getting real close. In fact, I'd bet a dog's bottom dollar that that's it right there. Well, alright, nice spot. Now, I'm aware that I'm a particularly talkative dog, but from here on out, I'm going to try and do my best to shut up for a little while and let you just take it in as it is, because as it is barking amazing. Now, go on and look at that. That is a yurt. Now, this brings up some interesting historical tidbits, as the Mongol Empire tried to invade Vietnam 4 times. 3 times as the Mongol Khanate, or the Mongol Empire, and a 4th time once they had started identifying themselves as the Yuan dynasty of China. All of the invasions failed, but the 4th one was seen as the most successful because it did get Vietnam to agree to some tributary relations. Essentially, Vietnam agreeing to pay them money so that they would fuck off. Now, this doesn't really look like ideal land for a nomadic steppe herder to me, but I've never been one, so who am I to judge? And if you take a look down there, I believe that behind the clouds is the lake that we drove by earlier. And for all of our other resident city dwellers out there like myself, just remember that when you come out to a place like this, you're gonna get all kinds of burrs and bristles and pointy things stuck in your fur. Or your socks or shoelaces or pants or hair or whatever soft, fluffy and or fabric-y places your species may have to offer. If you get there in the morning and it's still too cloudy to really see anything, then either go explore a bit or sit, chill, have a cup of coffee, whatever, and eventually that brutal Vietnamese sun will come up and probably burn off the clouds for you. Hi! But we had a schedule to keep, so I went and collected the interns and brought them back to the cafe. These two young ladies that we met when we first arrived came by to help with the debristling of my fur, while the driver was recaffeinating. Unspeakable gratitude, ladies. And with some parting thanks, we were back on the road. Remember yesterday when I was making those jokes about look to the left and look to the right because you can only see clouds? Well, that's because this is what we were supposed to be seeing. And as you may already be able to tell, it's much more aesthetically pleasing this time around. And nice concho, little bro. And that's a pretty nice school for being this far out. Now, just up ahead is where the intern driver had to bail off the bike, run into the bushes, and change his pants to try and escape those awful hell nettles that I mentioned earlier, and then almost get decapitated by an electrical line. That's always fun. But for real, make sure you bring another pair of pants and another pair of socks or two if you wear those, because needles or nettles or thistles or thorns or whatever you call them, they suck. But on a positive note, mountain ponies. Now, as we approach that turnoff that we took earlier this morning in the clouds, let's just take a couple moments and appreciate the views that we missed. Still real nice, but you get the idea. Anyway, I'm sure that's enough of that and that you all get the idea. If at first it's too cloudy to succeed, hang out, drink coffee for a while, and eventually it'll clear up. Now friends, as we make our way back down the rest of the mountain, out through Bac Yan town, through all these rice paddy valleys, back out onto the river delta and the plains that have the city of Hanoi, we just want to leave you with a couple of little channel updates. The first of which is that the 2nd and 3rd of just next month are National Day here in Vietnam. And that means that we'll have time to do another episode as awesome as this one. The second and final update is that by then, we should finally have our audio update under control. So until then, remember that we love you all, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.